If you're a coach, online service provider, or an agency owner, then you've probably felt this, where one month you're up and the next you're down. Revenue is unpredictable, you're chasing leads, getting ghosted on DMs, people aren't showing up to the calls, and the reality is that the market is very skeptical right now. Trust is at a very low level, and that basically means that trying to sell cold leads into a 5K ticket offer is getting harder and harder every day. But what if instead of you trying to make everyone buy all in or nothing, what if you try to let them buy in over time? In this video, I'm going to show you the Client Ascension Ladder, how you can use that to increase your lifetime value by nearly 8 times. And I'm also going to show you how to feed that Client Ascension Ladder with a scalable sales process that will allow you to increase your effective hourly rate by an insane amount, nearly 28x, without burning yourself out, without having to go chase leads or jumping on a million sales calls, right? If you're new to the channel, I'm Juan Otero. I run Systems and Clients, where we help my clients who are coaches, agencies, and online service providers generate over $1.5 million over the past 14 months by using scalable client acquisition and proven systems. So, as I mentioned, trust in the market is at an all-time low. In fact, if we look at this Forbes article from Feb 2025, we are nearing all-time lows for trust in marketers, right? So this isn't obviously an ideal situation for us. However, you'll notice that after every big dip in trust, there's a huge surge in trust. It's a big spike that follows. So it's a great opportunity right now for you to be building trust with your audience, and a Client Ascension Ladder is a great way to do so in a profitable way. So let's jump into what I mean exactly by that. Now, let's look at a traditional acquisition model, right? Let's say that you're running, and this is what I like to call an unleveraged sales process, right? So you're running ad spend. Let's say you're running traffic, right, to a lead magnet or a call to action, like, hey, DM me for this. And let's say you're running 3K in ads. We're going to carry this through as an example for later. I'll show you compared to like a webinar. But we're running 3K in ads. Let's say our cost per lead is $4.50, which is pretty low. It might be double that in your niche. It might be triple that, right? It depends on what kind of niche you're in, what kind of offer you're running, what the magnet is. But let's use a relatively low $4.50 cost per lead. So that will get us basically with 3K ad spend, 667 leads, getting our lead magnet and giving us their contact information. Let's assume that out of those, you're going to have 97%, unfortunately, who just won't end up booking your call, right? They're just going to go. And if you don't have good systems in place, good setter SOPs in place to follow up, or reactivation campaigns to keep re-engaging your audience, then it's called the lead graveyard, right? They just go there and then that's it. That's 647 leads that are out of our 667. Then we'll have 3% who will book a call. Those who book a call, that equates to 20 people, right? And we don't live in an ideal world, so not all of those 20 are going to show up. So assuming you have a show up rate of 70%, which again is pretty good. If you might be at 60, 50, so it must be even lower. Let's assume you're at a pretty good 70% show up rate, right? That equates to 14 people who will show up to your call where you're going to pitch them that 5K high ticket offer, right? Mid to high ticket. And again, not a perfect world. Not everyone will buy your product or your program. So then that means we now have got 25%. Let's say that you or your closer is closing at 25%. That gives us 3 buyers of your 5K offer, right? So that basically gives us nearly 15K in revenue from 14 calls, 14 60-minute calls. So that gives us $15,000 in revenue from 14 hours of work, giving us an effective hourly rate of $1,071 per hour. That is the acquisition side, right? Not very leveraged. You're jumping on sales calls. You're having to do all this work. Then we've got what your client journey looks like in a very simplified way, but we have someone who purchases your offer at $5,000, right? You do your client onboarding, you do the fulfillment, whether that's, the agreement's 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is you're selling. And then that's it, right? You complete your services, you meet the agreement, the program. If you don't have a retainer, then that's kind of it, right? You're done at $5,000 as a lifetime value. Basically, that initial purchase is all they give you. And that's assuming that they paid, if you're on a payment plan, that they actually paid you every single month that they agreed to and didn't just drop off at some point. When we compare this to a model where you have a Client Ascension Ladder, this is what it looks a little bit different. And here's the benefit of that. So very simply put, you have a client ascension ladder where we've got the exact same offer at different price points. And so I like to call these levels of access, right? And each level of access is a little bit higher in price. And it also gets more involvement and more service and value out of your offer. So for example, we've got the ultra low ticket at $97 a month, mainly for like community access. This could be $9, 37, 97, even like 147, whatever it is that you want it to be. But this is pretty much the low ticket bracket. Then we've got a do-it-yourself course or an info product typically at $997. Then from there, you jump into the group coaching model if you're a coaching business, right? And that could be, group coaching at the 5K offer. So that's where we get a lot of people that are doing direct marketing or ads to try to bring on people at that 5K offer. Then once you go from the 5K, you've got the one-on-one kind of specialized, more private, tailored consulting, right? So that can be 10 grand, right? Depending on your industry and your niche, whatever pricing makes sense. These are just benchmarks, right? But just to give you an idea of how the brackets play out on this ladder. And then if it makes sense for your industry and your niche, what you're doing, maybe you've got it done for you, top of the line kind of service at 25K. Maybe it's 15K, maybe it's 50K, right? Either way, it's a fully done for you implementation. And so if we actually walk through what this looks like from the customer journey, right? We've got our ladder here. And so you'll be able to capture someone who's coming in for the community access. Maybe their problem right now is, I feel isolated and I don't know where to start. Maybe it's someone who is new to the subject matter that you're teaching or just becoming aware of the solution to the problem that that you solve, right? And so they're just trying to dip their toes in, right? Get a feel of, is this something they like? Not someone that's gonna just jump in and be like, yeah, I'm ready to drop 5 grand on this, right? So that's the community access, allows them to just kind of get in, get a feel, start to learn more, right? Then once they're in the community, then it gets them that perfect setup for the next level. So they're in the community, so they feel great. They join a supportive community where they get to ask questions, get direction, and stay motivated. Once they do that, then they're going to start thinking, oh, all right, well, I have a new problem. I need a clear roadmap that I can implement on my own. Now they kind of are interested in the vehicle or the solution you offer, but they obviously don't have access to the information. So now they need that game plan, right? This is where the course comes in handy because it's an access to information, right? And so $997, very easy to fulfill on, right? You're just basically giving them access, and that's pretty much it. Gets them access to the complete training program with proven templates, frameworks, whatever it is that you might be offering. And as usual, as is why do coaches exist? Why do experts exist? Whether you're a consultant, a growth partner, right? As people get access to information, it's not always everything they need. You can get all the information you need out there. You need accountability and you need actual guidance and feedback. And so then the new problem becomes, hey, I'm stuck on my implementation and I want feedback or accountability, which then sets them up to ascend to your group coaching model, where they now get access to group calls with your expert, your CSM, or your coaches to get some more templates, some more resources to help accelerate their progress. And of course, everything we offer them, we obviously want them to get results, right? We want our clients to be able to succeed and actually get results out of our programs, our products, and our services. And so naturally, what we want is that after a few months in the group coaching model, maybe it takes them 3, maybe it takes them 6, but either way, the next problem occurs, which is, hey, well, it's been great being in this group model and following your program and your guidelines and what you suggest, but maybe now they're at the point where they need a custom strategy for deeper support. They have an actual unique needs now. They can't just do a cookie cutter approach of like, let me just copy verbatim what you have in your course. And that's where they can then do private consulting with you at 10K, or with your, client success managers, a more involved one-on-one approach, co-creation, right? That's the consulting. And you might just call it quits there, right? That might be the top of your service offering. Or if it makes sense in your niche, then as the client is continually doing that, ideally, again, they're succeeding and they're at the point where they just want to focus on what's working for them, right? What do they get the most value out of? What is the highest leverage activities they're doing? And so now they might say, hey, I have the vision to do this, or I know I need to do this, I just don't have time to execute, or they just don't want to learn, take the time to, the opportunity cost, right, of doing something they don't know. They need to hire an expert to do that for them. So then you can offer them your done for you implementation by your team so that they can stay in their zone of genius and you can stay fulfilling on what you know best. And the best part about this, because many done for you programs fail because they'll bring on anyone, and instead of teaching them how to go from 2 to 10, they're teaching them from go to 0 to 0.5, right? Like they're picking people up who have no clue what they're doing, not qualified at all, right? It's just a huge money grab. So you want your done for you clients to actually be good fits that you know will actually benefit from the solutions you're offering. And so if we were basically summarizing all of this ascension ladder, it's each level solves one problem and then unlocks the next. Because your job isn't just to sell, it's to guide your clients up the ladder, because it means you're guiding them through their business, right? Improving their business, solving one problem, unlocking the next, solving that one, and unlocking the next. So if we were to summarize kind of the whole client ascension ladder into what that breaks down to, is a little something like this, where we've got, let me put on the presentation mode here, there we go, where we've got your ultra low level, right, which is access to resources and network. Your do-it-yourself course/info product is a learn and implement phase. You're done with you group coaching is group support and training. Then your consulting one-on-one is personalized strategy. And then you've got your full-on implementation done for you at 25K, again, whatever it is that pricing makes sense for you. And as you go up the ladder, the involvement with your client also increases. But so does the lifetime value that you get out of them. Because if we now revisit the model that we had before, right? Just the traditional linear buy a program, onboard, fulfill, and offboard. If we throw in that ascension ladder, now we've gone from, purchase made, onboarding, fulfillment. Instead of just offboarding, now we have an opportunity to have a client ascension conversation very organically, which then might result in you being able to upsell them to the next bracket in your ascension ladder. So if we follow this example, we start at 5K. At the end of that fulfillment period, we can upsell them to the 10K. And then again, we roll the dice again. So then client onboarding, fulfillment, ascension again at the end of that program. And ideally, if your clients are having a good experience with you, as they should, if you're providing a good, reputable service, they're going to want to upsell with you, right? They're going to want to keep going and keep getting better and better results. And so then that's where you take them to your done for you level at 25K. And so in this specific example, by looping through the client ascension ladder, we basically just made, instead of a lifetime value of 5,000, it's gone up to 40,000, right? So almost, an 8x increase on your customer lifetime value without any more ads, without any more content, no burnout, right? Just fulfilling, doing your thing, and then ascending. But by structuring everything in a way that's very clear for your clients to see the value of continuing to work with you. And now that we've had our client ascension ladder, we need to actually feed it, right? We need to bring traffic and buyers to our client ascension ladder. So that brings us to one-to-many selling. And one of my favorite vehicles for one-to-many selling is webinars, because if you want to do scalable selling, right, it has to be leveraged. So remember the example I showed you before, 14 hours, 14 sales calls, right? 14 hours, perhaps even more if you're doing 2 call closes. It just adds up. In this example, I'm going to show you a leveraged acquisition mechanism where we're going to run ads to a webinar, and I'm going to walk you through how we can then tag on the client ascension ladder on the back end of the webinar to really drive up not just your LTV, as I mentioned, but also the cash you collect up front for the current services that you're selling. So let's walk through this right now. Again, here are the different components. So purple, we've got lead gen, right? Lead gen is going to be, ads, organic, affiliate, whatever it is you're using. In my example, we'll go with ads and organic. We're going to run them to a one-to-many conversion vehicle. I like to use a webinar because you can do it in 90 minutes from basically anywhere in the world. Very little overhead. Other examples of one-to-many conversion vehicles are 5-day challenges, or 3 to whatever amount of day challenges. You've got masterminds, seminars, conferences, workshops. Like there's a ton of different names, variations, but basically you are sitting in a room pitching to multiple people at once is the idea behind a one-to-many conversion vehicle. Then you've got our audience segmentation. So tracking the leads based on where they're at in the funnel. I'll walk into more detail. I'll show you more detail what I mean by that. But basically those who showed up, those who didn't show up, those who showed up and bought, right? And kind of drilling down into those buckets. We've got systems, which again, systems are key to everything. You need systems absolutely, not just at this stage, but really systems is what allows you to do everything, right? From tech, funnels, people, processes, right? Systems is everything. So systems, tailored sequences to increase the funnel performance. Again, I'll show you what I mean by that. And our desired outcome, which is ultimately to generate more sales. So let's see, here we got our traffic, right? And as I mentioned, we're gonna run traffic to a webinar where we're gonna pitch a $997 product. So on the Ascension Ladder, we're gonna be at that second bracket, not ultra low ticket, but low ticket. And because it's only $997, it's something that you can actually sell in just 90 minutes, or if you want to make your webinar, 2 hours, 3 hours, it's enough time for people to be able to trust you, for you to be able to pitch them enough for them to trust you and purchase from you without having to jump on a sales call, which is what we want to avoid ideally. So we'll run them to a webinar where we're going to pitch that $997 offer. And here are how the percentages roughly break down. This is based on what we've, the data we've gotten from our clients, also industry data. This is what you can roughly expect. You're gonna have 61% of people who opt in, right? So who register for the webinar, they won't actually attend, right? Then you're gonna have 34.4% who will attend but not purchase from you, right? They're gonna sit through the webinar, maybe they drop off, maybe they watch through to your pitch and then go, yeah, no, I'm good, and then they don't buy. And then you're gonna have 4.5% roughly who will show up and will buy. And so based on these three kind of buckets, segmentation, right? We can target them based on what they did or didn't do. So for those who did not attend, we can tell, right? And then we can say, okay, well, if they didn't want to attend a 90-minute webinar, maybe it's a time-sensitive person. Maybe I'll send them a shorter, condensed version of the webinar so that they can go through that instead. Or I just reactivate them for my next webinar, whether you do one every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, up to you. But essentially, around 15% of those we can reactivate for a future training or some sort of lead magnet. And even though that's 15%, the beauty is that they are in your list. Unless they actually opt out, you can keep on re-engaging them every new webinar you do, every new email marketing campaign, whatever it is, you can keep re-engaging them so they're not completely lost, right? There's no lead graveyard in this situation. Then we've got those who attended and did not buy. And so for them, we'll actually enroll them into an abandoned cart sequence where we're going to pitch them. I'll walk into it in a second, but we're basically going to offer them a downsell. They weren't ready to buy the $997, but they attended, right? Maybe they were interested. Maybe we'll try to offer them a little bit lower of a price, see if they buy. And then for those who do buy, right, they sit through a webinar, you pitch them, and then they go, yeah, I want that. For them, we're going to offer them a $997 upsell at checkout. So just on the funnel page, nothing wild, right? Just one little option on the funnel page, an upsell, right? At the checkout, no call, nothing. All right. And so that's basically going to break down into these percentages. So you're going to have out of the 34.4 people who attended but did not buy, and then who we then sell a abandoned cart sequence to, so who we send an abandoned cart sequence to, they're going to get, there's going to be about 10% who will go for your downsell. In this case, I'm going to offer a $497 downsell. And for those who we offer an upsell to, 70% will not take it. So 70% will say, hey, I like your $997 product. They see the upsell, they're going to go, no, I'm good. And then you're going to have 30% who will actually go ahead and upsell. So they'll turn into a nearly $2,000 buyer. So now that we've walked through those numbers, let's actually put in some concrete like ad spend behind it. Just how I showed in with the book a call funnel essentially. So here's what that looks like. We've got 3K in ad spend again. I'm going to go for a higher cost per lead. In this case, I'm going to go for an $8 cost per lead. This is kind of benchmark. I mean, you could be getting leads for 10, 12, or 4, 5, 6, 7, right? It depends on your niche, depends on, your ads, obviously. Let's go with 8. So nearly double the cost per lead as the previous example I showed. So that nearly gets us, half the leads, right? So 375 leads. Following the percentages that I walked you through, we're going to have 229 leads who won't attend out of those who registered. We'll send them a reactivation. Then we're going to have 129 attendees that won't buy. So we'll send them into an abandoned cart sequence. And then we're going to have 17 people who attended and will buy, right? And then we'll offer them the checkout. So out of the people who we offer the downsell, we're going to have 12 who get the downsell at $497. Then we're going to have 12 buyers at $9.97 who didn't go for the upsell. And then we're going to have 5 who actually do go for the upsell. So then 5 buyers at $2K. And all of this comes out to nearly $28,000 in revenue from that 90-minute webinar, giving us an effective hourly rate of $18,599 compared to the $1,071 per hour from sitting through 14 different sales calls, right? So already here, we're incredibly leveraged with our time and our acquisition without having to really worry about too much of like a setting flow, without having to worry too much about, you know, the show up rates and confirming calls and like all of this that comes with, you know, the call booking process. And I wanted to tie this all in to show you the power of the Ascension Ladder, because you don't need to wait until the end of the fulfillment to actually ascend a client. By you having that Ascension Ladder, you already have it very clear in your mind that, hey, I have these different tiers that I can bring people into. And so what you can offer the webinar buyers, they basically just qualified themselves to you. They've said, hey, I've sat through your training and I'm actually going to put my money where my mouth is and buy your $997 product, or even if they go for the upsell, right? So all these people have just raised their hands, and it would be a shame if you didn't have a conversation with them about, hey, maybe it might be a good idea for you to actually take our 5K high ticket product, right? Maybe that's a better fit, because you need to have that conversation. Maybe they saw your training, they thought it was great, but maybe they would actually benefit more from a group coaching model, or maybe they actually need even more like one-on-one tailored support, so they go for consulting, right? Or maybe they need a DFY. They're like, hey man, I love this, I have no clue what to do, I don't have the time, help me out, right? So instead of just saying, okay, you guys bought our main product, great, welcome, and then go through the course and that's it, I'll follow up with you in a few months to see if you want to upgrade to the next tier. We're actually going to offer them some onboarding calls, right? At the end, for those who buy, we're going to offer them an onboarding call as a bonus for the webinar, right? Again, one of the bonuses can be an onboarding call with your COO, with yourself, with someone that would offer them crazy amount of value on a call, right? That they would be worth it for them to go, yeah, man, I want that, right? And for those people who we offer that onboarding call, you're gonna have 20%, because remember, the onboarding call, the goal of it is actually to upsell them, right? Call it an onboarding call, but really it's a conversation to see if maybe it's a better fit to send them right now to the next tier. Maybe it would benefit the client more actually to just jump straight into like a higher bracket, right? So that's what this is. And so on that call, let's say we pitch them the 5K offer, right? Well, now we've just done 20%. The breakdown is going to be 80%. We'll say, no, I'm good after the onboarding call. 20% roughly will say, yeah, you know what? I actually could benefit from that higher ticket offer. So that results in 3 out of our 17 who will go for the upsell. So when we consider that into the total revenue for the webinar, now we're at nearly $43,000 in just 1.5 hours, 90 minutes, right? So that gives us an effective hourly rate of $28,598 per hour. That is insane leverage, my friends. And that is the beauty of not only the Client Ascension Ladder, but also running a webinar to feed into that Client Ascension Ladder. And this absolutely works. In fact, we've had our client, Justin, he used to just sell directly high ticket, just on calls, right? And we ran a couple webinars with him. First, only organic, 0 ad spend, right? Just to his list, and not a very big list. His list was maybe 1,200 people, 1,300 people. And just in 2 webinars, right? He did once in 2 weeks, right? 1 per week, just back to back, 2 webinars. He closed $23,000 in sales just from his lower ticket product, right? And we set it up so that he would then, you know, be able to send them on the back end. So just from the webinar itself, just 2 webinars, so 3 hours of work, right? $23,000 organic, and that is paid in full, right? Not some contract BS like expected revenue. No, it's fully cash collected, right? 23 people said, hey, I'm down to buy that $1,000 product. And that's the beauty of the webinar and scaling with leveraged acquisition mechanisms. So if you want us to help you build a webinar, right? Build up that scalable client acquisition and create a client ascension ladder and all the systems, all the back end, all the processes for you and your team. By the way, you don't really need a big team for this either if you don't want to. If you're interested in having all this set up in your business, then go ahead, go to systemsandclients.com/apply. We'll walk you through how to do this for your business. And at the end of it, if you think we're a good fit to work together, we'll actually go ahead and build it out for you. So again, systemsandclients.com/apply. Would love to walk you through this, see if we're a good fit. And if so, then great to work together. If you feel you got some value out of this video, then go ahead and give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments any questions you have. Happy to answer anything related to the subject matter we've got here, or any other questions that you think I'd be a good expert to help you address. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.